Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys to Ride, and today I am in the 2026 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. And this is the ultimate guide to learn your car's tech in minutes, not months. Today, I'll be covering the driver's information and infotainment screens. I'll do a general overview, show you how to access information, and do a deep dive. Let's get started. Today, we're working with our friends at Lead Card Toyota in beautiful Mankato, Minnesota. All right, so this is the SE trim level, and on the lower trim levels, you get a 7-inch digital screen in the middle, and then an 8-inch infotainment screen. On the upper trims, you're going to get a full digital screen and a larger infotainment screen. I believe it's 10.5 inches. All right. So that being said, let's take a look at what we have here. So on the far left, of course, you got engine temp, and then you got your EV ready sign there, and then you got the outdoor temperature. You've got your odometer, and on the bottom it says 5 miles. Now to switch between like trip A, trip B, and so forth, you actually have a physical push button like on older cars right here, and that's trip A, that's trip B, that's miles till maintenance. And then there's your odometer. All right. Now in the middle, we've got, of course, a gauge, and that can be changed into 3 different things, and I'll show you that in a minute. Over on the far right, of course, you've got your cruise control symbol, your lane keeping assist symbol, your distance to empty at the bottom, your clock at the top, and then your fuel gauge on the right. All right, so let's talk about how you can change the screen and what you can do with it. For starters, on the left side of the steering wheel, you've got 4 arrows, an OK button, and a back button, and that's what you're going to use to control the screen. Now, you've also got a volume up and down, you've got a voice command button, and you've got a phone button. So these are the ones that we're going to be using right here. So very typical to Toyota, if I press down, you get this little menu on the left, which if you've had a Toyota before, this is going to look familiar. So we're going to start up here. Now, you notice at the bottom of my screen, there were 3 little dots that showed up. That means that there's 3 screens in this view. So I'm going to press the right arrow. Okay, and I'm going to wait a second until that eco score goes away. Yep, so it's going to give you an eco score on start, cruise, and stop. And then total time, your EV driving ratio. And then total average, back to where we were. Okay. So then I'm going to go down a button, and this is your adaptive cruise control. So that, of course, will activate. That's your lane keeping assist on the left, and then those lines in the middle that go left to right, that's your gapping distance between you and the car in front of you. Now, there is one more screen here, so I'm going to press right, and it just gives you a compass. Okay? So we're going to go back, and then we're going to go down. Now, this is your media. So for media, what you're going to do is you actually have a tuning button on the right side of the steering wheel. So if I press that, I can go to my favorites, is what this is. Okay, it doesn't go, number by number, but it is actually the favorites that have been stored. Okay, if I want to go to source, I just press the OK button, and now I can use these arrows to select my source. And then just press OK when you get there. All right, I'm going to go down again. And then we have several screens here. So this is your all-wheel drive graph. It'll show you which wheels are getting traction here, or power, I should say. And then you got your tire pressure monitoring, which I love. And then you've got your energy monitor right here, which if you're driving is going to show you whether your energy is coming from the battery or the engine or both. Okay, it's a nice little graph. You've got trip B here, distance and average speed, same thing for trip A. And then you're just going to press and hold OK to reset either one of those. And then we've got trip again. That's not related to trip A or trip B. All right, so then we're back to this one. All right, let's go down one. Here are your safety systems, and this has got Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 on it, and this is where you're going to turn on or off or manage any of your safety systems here. So, for instance, if I press and hold, okay, this is lane departure. So I can go down here, and I can have it go, by clicking OK, I can have it on or off. I go down one to alert options. I can change it from tone, like a beep, to a vibrating steering wheel. And then the alert timing. Okay. That would be like earlier and that would be like later. Okay. So that's up to you. Okay. How you set that. I'm going to go back and then I'm going to go over to this one. All right. So press and hold. This is your blind spot monitoring, and you can change the timing on it. So this would be like earlier, this would be middle, and this would be later. I would personally leave it all the way, but brightness. So you've got a symbol in your mirror that tells you on both sides, that tells you if something's approaching, and this will change the brightness of that. You know, so maybe at night you want it a little dimmer. I don't know, but that you can adjust it there. So we're going to go back. We're going to go over here, press and hold. All right. So PCS. Well, what is PCS? So PCS is the pre-collision system. Okay. And this one has pedestrian detection with it. All right. So you can set the warning timing level. You can turn it on or off. Okay. I'm going to hit the back button. All right. So moving over to this one here. So proactive driving assist is going to use the radar and the camera to provide gentle braking and steering support when it detects either a curve in the road, a vehicle in front of you, a pedestrian, or other obstacle in front of you. Okay. And there are some things that you can adjust on this. Okay. First of all, the sensitivity. Okay. Is it very sensitive? Just normal where it is now? Or if you press the OK button, it's minimally sensitive. So you can change that. Now, you can also change DA. Well, what's DA? Well, DA is deceleration or deceleration, easy for me to say, deceleration assist. Okay. So that's when the car slows itself down when it senses an object or a pedestrian or something in front of you. Okay. You can have that on or off. And then OAA is obstacle anticipation assist. So what that's going to do again is look for obstacles. Okay. And so when it sees that, then then it kicks in the proactive driving assist, and you can turn that off or on with the OK button. All right. And I think that's the bottom of the list. Yep. So we'll go back here. All right. So going over here, this is rear cross traffic assist. So I'm just going to press OK, hold the OK button. And so here you can just change the volume of it. Okay. And you just use the OK button. It's nice that they give you the tone right away. Hit the back button there. All right, we're going to go over one more here. And this one is actually safe exit assist. And so what that's going to do is going to light up a symbol in your mirror. If you're trying to open your door, it detects an object or a person or something there. It's going to warn you in the mirror to keep your door closed until that's passed. So I think that is really cool. And then you can set the sensitivity by pressing the OK button, fully sensitive, normal, and minimally sensitive. All right. Then you can turn the mirror light on or off. And it's the same as your blind spot monitoring lights. Okay, that's what comes on. All right, I'm going to hit the back button here. We're going to go over here, press and hold on OK. All right, so this is road sign assistance. So when it reads like the speed limit. So I'm going to press notification method. Now, do you want it to warn you when you're above the speed limit? If you do select that, you can say, I want no notification, only visual, or I want visual and audio if I'm above the speed limit. All right. So I'm just going to click there again and just set it to only visual. We'll go back. Okay. Okay. So let's go back. Notification level. All right. So do you want it to notify you when you're 1 mile an hour over, 3 miles an hour over, or 5 miles an hour over? All right. Just press the back button again. Now we're going to go over one more. All right, so this is the driver brake system. So if it senses that you are weaving and across the lines, you're maybe driving erratically, it suggests you pull over and stop, take a break. You can turn that off right here if you want. All right, dynamic radar cruise control. I'm going to press that. All right, so this is fully adaptive to cruise control, so it's stop and go. It'll bring it to a stop, and it will continue when the car in front of you moves. How aggressively do you want it to accelerate? Okay, do you want normal, minimal, or yeah, I really want it to step on the gas when it comes from a stop to get going again. All right, guide message can be off or on. Okay, so it may notify you if the car in front of you has moved, but the car, you haven't started moving yet. And then it'll detect a curve in the road and it will reduce the speed to what it thinks it should be appropriate. Now you can adjust that sensitivity here. You can say, I want that minimal, don't change much speed much, or off altogether, or really, change speed as much as, as much as you can. And then here's normal. So it's kind of a play with that to see what it, see how it feels when you're actually driving before you actually set it. Tire pressure setting here. So you can do tire set switching, you can do tire rotation and tire pressure setting. And just press the OK button, and then you can select the option that you want. Okay, and then of course you can set the pressure here. All right, so we'll go back. We're going to go back again. We're going to go back again, and then I think right down here we have scheduled maintenance. So if I click on OK, I can reschedule any. Reset any scheduled maintenance. Okay. So I'm going to click no for now, of course. Oil maintenance. Click and hold. It's we saw that earlier, it was almost 10,000 miles. Do I want to reset it? No. So we're just going to hit the back button. Rear seat reminder. You turn off the car and get out. It's going to beep at you and show you a little graphic in the screen telling you to check the rear seat. You can turn that off if you want, or on with the OK button. Okay, and that is it for that one. So we're going to hit the back button here. And then we got one more. And here, if I press and hold, is where we can make some other changes like language. Okay, I think you've got these three choices. Yep. So we'll go back. You got units. Okay, so you can select whatever units you want. There's 4 different choices. I'm going to hit the back button. And then I love this meter style. So right now you can see the kind of gauge we have here. So we're in smart, I want it casual. See, you get a little different look. Okay, or you can press it again. You can go, I want sporty. And there you go. Now we're going to leave it on that, and I'm going to go down one more, and you can change the dial type. Right now it's set to be hybrid. You can say, I want it as a tachometer. So there you go. You get a tachometer. Or I can press it again and say, nope, I want the hybrid system. Or I can go here and say, nope, I just want it off altogether. Okay, then you're just going to get your miles per hour at the top. A little quieter screen, not as many things going on. Okay, so then let's go down to the Leaf. And here under fuel economy, I can have the fuel economy reflect the trip average. And I just go up to it and click OK. I can have it do the total average or the tank average. Hit the back button a minute. And under the hybrid system, I can turn eco guidance off or on with the click of the OK button. That is the driver screen. Next, we're going to move over to the infotainment screen. The infotainment screen is a 8-inch screen, and on the upper trims, it's going to be a 10.5-inch screen, but it's going to be the same software. So what they have here is Toyota's audio multimedia system, and it's running the latest software. So you've basically got a menu on this side, and then whatever you press here, things will show up on the screen. That's the way it's designed. There's no home page with apps or anything. This is what you have. You do have a physical volume knob right here, and then you can push to power it off. Okay, and it's like a mute button. If you just push it, and if I push and hold it, it'll shut it all the way off. Now, turn it back on again. Just hit this button again, and it will come back on. Now, just be aware, it takes a minute to reboot. And then this will be grayed out for a second, and then it will get to be a bright blue, and then you can get going and just hit Enable Audio. So on the top here, we've got built-in navigation. That's a really nice system, but you have to subscribe to it. You have to pay a fee, so I can't get in there to show it to you, but it's very nice. It does traffic for you. It does work really well. Next button here is the radio or media. So the sources, okay, if I go back to radio here, I got my sources right here that are really easy to get to, but I've got a few more if I click on sources, like I've got radio, Apple Music, or Amazon Music, and you would have to sign in, okay? And then if your phone was connected, that would also show up there. All right, so what I want to show you in here is how to tune, how to make a favorite, how to manage favorites if you can, and then how to adjust sound. So right away, you're going to see that we're in favorites right now. So obviously you can click on one of your favorites and it just goes right to it. Okay. Hit the back button here. You can also just go to the tune button and you can type in FM, select your source and then type in a number and hit this button right here. Okay. But if you're actually in something, say for Sirius XM, let's say we're on Classic Rewind, you're going to get a channel button that shows up, and you can, of course, go through the channels right there. In addition to the button on your steering wheel, but that one only goes through your favorites that you've already selected. Okay. Now, how do you make a favorite? Well, let's select a channel that isn't a favorite, and let's make it a favorite. There we go. We just added it to favorites. We can hit undo if we want, but I'm going to leave it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back here, and we're going to go right to favorites. And here is the one I added. If I click on one of them, you get a different screen here that an edit button comes up. So now I'm going to hit edit, and now I can just hit delete, okay? Or I can change the order of things. So if I want 80 on 8 to be first, I can grab, I guess I got to grab it right here. Got to do it right. Okay. Okay, hear that little beep? Now I can change the order. So you can do that for any of them. So that way your favorites show up in the order that you like. And then when you're done, just click Done Editing. All right, so the last question is, how do I adjust sound? Well, other than your volume knob right here, there isn't a spot on the screen to go to directly. So you're going to go to Settings, and then you're going to go down to Sound and Media. And then here are, the first thing is levels, okay, auto sound levelizer. Well, what that's going to do is as you're driving on the highway and the car's noisier on the inside, it's going to increase the volume of the radio. And if you're driving on city streets where it's quieter, it's going to lower the volume. It tries to keep it balanced in your ear. And you can say, how sensitive is that? High, medium, or low? And that's going to be a personal preference. Okay. Now, if I go to sound tuning, I've got treble, mid, and bass. This does have a 6-speaker sound system. I can go to balance and fade right here. Click and drag, or use the arrows, hit recenter, and it goes right back. You do have a few other options here. I'm just going to show you while we're here, but under media, you can have display cover art, and that's those little pictures that show up in the radio. Okay. If you don't want those, you can turn those off there. All right, that's the basics of media. And again, you've got, your AM, FM, Sirius XM. You do get a 3-month free trial with the Sirius XM when you buy the car new. You also have Apple Music and Amazon Music, which just require you to sign into your account. And then they'll show up as a source that you can, play from here. All right, we're going to come back to phone in a little bit. I'm going to go to vehicle. This is kind of neat. So this gives you trip information. So it tells you the range, tells you the trip duration, and then it'll give you some information here. And then you can look at history. You could update or you can clear data. Obviously, the car has 5 miles on, so it hasn't gone far, right? So, but that's there. That's a nice graph. Okay, now, you can click here again, and that was trip information. You can go to energy flow. This is the fun one to watch. Certainly want to pay attention to the road, but it does tell you where if your power is coming from the battery or the motor or both, and if it's charging or using power. So it's just a nice graph. And you have a similar one in the driver screen that I showed you. I'm going to tap here again, vehicle alert. If there are any alert messages, they'll show up here. And it's going to pop up on your screen and tell you too. I mean, it's not just going to show up here. It'll pop up and give you a little notification, and then you can go here to read it in full. All right. We're going to go down to settings for a minute. Under guest, this is your driver profile. Okay, so you would just, I can't go through and set it up, but this is where you start. and you scan the QR code, hit continue, and just follow the directions on the screen. It's going to set up things like all of your radio favorites and stuff to your driver profile. Okay, so all that is stored in there. And then someone else gets in with a different key fob, because you can link it to a key fob. And then someone else gets in with a different key fob, and they can have their own. So, you both have your own radio presets and everything, volume settings, that kind of stuff, all saved. All right. Now, under personal info here, you can reset the settings. We can look at any device we have hooked up to the car, okay, which we don't have any at this point. Under general, okay, screen beep, you can turn that off. You can set the screen sensitivity. So if you have gloves on, okay, 3 works better. Right? Set the date and time here. You can clear the search history of your keyboard unit when you've been typing in things. Under language and units, you can change to English, Spanish, or French, or you can say set automatically. Right, let's go back. We've already talked about notifications here, but this has some additional things like software updates are on. That means if there's an available update, it will download it. Now, it's not going to install it while you're driving. Your car has to be parked, and then it can install it. Now, you can also hook it to your home Wi-Fi if you don't want that on, and then it'll do it via your home Wi-Fi. All right, vehicle suggestions. I think you just get it on or at stop or off. Okay, so the car, is cars are getting smarter. So it's going to figure out after some of your driving habits, like, do you always listen to a particular radio station as you go to work? Well, when you hop in your car and start it, if the radio isn't on that station, it's going to suggest, do you want to tune to this station? And then all you got to say is, yep, and it'll change it. Right, which is really nice. If you always, call your mother at a certain time of the afternoon on the way back from work, it'll suggest that. If you don't like that, that is where to turn that off. Now, of course, it has Wi-Fi. It's 4G Wi-Fi LTE hotspot, and you can turn that on if you want. You can also hook to your home Wi-Fi. Right? Now, if you have in-vehicle Wi-Fi, that's, you got to pay for that per month. All right? Now, under display, for the screen, this is another spot to just turn off the screen. How bright do you want the screen? Well, automatic, or you can take it off automatic and say, I want it nighttime. Okay, and then you have a dark screen all the time. If you leave it automatic, it's going to automatically go back and forth. At night, it's going to turn dark, and during the day, it's going to be brighter. You can adjust the brightness and the contrast there. Now, for the camera, you've got also a brightness and contrast control, which you can maneuver just with your fingers, okay? Depending on how that backup camera looks to you. All right, now, let's go back. Vehicle customize. Okay, so we have 4 things down here. We have lights, door control, climate, and utility. So I'm going to click on lights. This has auto high beams, and I love it that they allow you to select how sensitive they are. So, for instance, I have auto lights on my truck, but I wish they would come on earlier. They kind of wait till it's darker than midnight, and then they come on. So I would like to say, I would switch mine. I want it to be brighter out when my lights come on. Okay, or you can go the opposite direction. I want it really dark before they come on. Okay, anywhere in between there. But it's nice they offer that. Auto off timer. Okay, so for that one, you can have your headlights stay on for up to 90 seconds, or when you shut off the car, or you can say, nope, when I turn off the car, I want the lights to kill completely immediately. Okay. Now, interior lights, same thing. You can go here and say, I want the interior lights to stay on before they shut off for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 7.5 seconds, or nope, as soon as I close the door, I want them to go off completely. Right? Now, under door control, you can select when the car locks the doors if you want the car to lock the doors. So, right now it's set to shift from park. So if I shift from park, all the doors in the car lock automatically. If I say by speed, then I put it in drive and I start moving, and roughly at 5 miles an hour, you'll hear the locks go, and the lock. If you want to do all the locking yourself, then you just go to off. Now, it has the same thing for unlock. To unlock, I shift from park into any gear and it locks, right? In this one, if I place it in park, it automatically unlocks all the doors. And you could say, you know what? I don't want it to unlock all the doors. I want it to just unlock the driver's door. Or you say, I don't want it to unlock at all. I'll do that myself. All right. So I'm going to leave that back where it was shift to park, where they had it. And now on your key fob, okay, do you want a 2 press to unlock? If you don't, turn that off right there. Okay, lock when door open. Okay, that means you can go ahead and hit the lock button with the door open, and when you close the door, it's going to stay locked. A lot of modern cars, if you try to lock the door when the doors are open, it just automatically unlocks them again. So this way, they stay locked. All right. On the smart access doors, that's that little sensor on the actual door handle. So when you click that, do you want all doors to open or just the driver's door? You just click on the one that you want. Do you want feedback lights when you hit the remote? Do you want a feedback tone? Okay. And then the auto relock timer here, you can set for up to 120 seconds or off altogether. Let's take a look at climate. So you have one thing you can change here, and that is when you turn the climate system to auto, it's automatically going to click on the AC if this is on. If this is off, it doesn't automatically click on the AC. Okay. All right. And then under utility, you can turn off the ability to customize I believe that is adaptive cruise control. Okay. Now, that's it on settings here, right? You might be wondering about like the voice assistant. You do have one, and again, that button's on the left side of the steering wheel. If I press it, if I do a quick press and release, tune to 80s on 8 in Sirius XM.
Tuning to this station.
Okay, and then I can do this. Turn the temperature up to 70.
Setting the temperature to 70 degrees.
And there it goes. Just changed to 70. Okay, I'm going to turn it back down to 68. But so there are some really neat things you can do by voice control. Now, you can also just say, hey, Toyota, and it comes up. And then you can talk to it. So you don't even need to push the button. We're going to go back right now, and I am going to hook up my Android phone, and we're going to show you Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay is very, very similar to set up. And then once that's done, you can also use the voice command button to access your Android Assistant or Siri on an iPhone, and then you can tell your phone to do things. All right, so let's get started with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to just turn on my phone. I'm going to go into, since I have an Android, I'm going to go to Settings, Connections. Then I'm going to click on Bluetooth. Now I'm going to hit Connect to Device here. And so I'm looking for Toyota Corolla Cross. And what you want to do is scroll to the bottom of all the Bluetooth devices that you're connected to, and you'll see Toyota Corolla Cross, and click on it. So I've done that. Now you kind of watch your phone screen and this screen. Is this number the same as the one showing on your phone? Yes, it is. I'm going to click OK. On my phone, I'm going to click Pair. It's going to ask you a couple more questions yet. Do you want to start Android Auto? I click Yes or OK. And then on your phone, it says, do you want to connect to this car? Click Allow. If you didn't click on OK for Android Auto, it would take you to regular Bluetooth, which is fine, but it's nowhere near as good as Android Auto. Now on my phone, it's going to, do you want this car to access your messages? Yes, allow. All right. And welcome to Android Auto, it says on my phone, and I'm going to hit continue on that. And we should now be going into Android Auto. Okay, there we are. So I can now safely turn my phone off and set it in the nice wireless charger that is just below the climate control system. Now, I do not have reception on my Android phone because I typically just use my Apple phone. But you're going to get the idea of how everything shows up. This would be right now Google Maps, and then, or Waze, sorry. This would be Waze. And then this would be YouTube Music. Okay. You do have a swipe here that you can go over, and it has suggestions for you. All right. Now, the way Android Auto or Apple CarPlay work is they give you a split screen and they give you the most recently used apps, but you can click the dice and it's going to take you to a view where you see all of the apps that work from your phone to the car. And you have a little down arrow or up arrow here, and you can just swipe with your finger. Biggest difference really is in Android Auto, you're swiping up and down, and in Apple CarPlay, you're going to be swiping left and right to see them. But basically, if you've never used Apple CarPlay or Android Auto before, what it's going to do is take any media app that is not a movie. So anything that streams music, streams audiobooks, news, podcasts, all that kind of stuff, Amazon Music, whatever. And then you can have that app show up in here. And so you can use it from here. For instance, I had Waze running a little earlier. So let me click on that. And now you see that Waze is almost full screen, right? I mean, it is really close to full screen for the 8-inch screen. So that's a nice size. So if you don't want to use, you don't want to pay for the subscription to run Toyota's navigation, then you can, use this. Now you're going to get it free with a car for a certain time period, and then you're going to have to pay a subscription. But when that happens, maybe you'll decide that, instead of that, you just want to use this. But that is where you're going to see all of your apps. The other thing it does is it takes almost any kind of news app or a navigation app. So I got Waze in there. I've got Google Maps. I don't have anything else right now on this phone, but those two. But almost any navigation app you have is going to show up there. Now, then the other question gets to be, well, how do I then, if I want to access it, like you mentioned, well, you press and hold the voice command button, but it's a press and hold. Okay, so if you press and hold the voice command button, you're going to see this pop up, right? And then you can tell whatever you want, and it's going to open an app for you or whatever. Okay, how do you get back to the Toyota system? Well, you just click on the Toyota icon. All right, yeah, now, if you've never used Apple CarPlay or Android Auto before and you're wondering, well, how do I make phone calls? It's as easy as just, hey, Google, call Mom.
Oops, something went wrong with the connection. Try again.
Okay, and that's because I don't have any Wi-Fi in this phone. But it's as simple as that. If you had your cell signal, it would automatically find the contact on your phone called Mom, and it would call it for you. So it's really easy. It's hands-free, or you can use a voice command button. But the difference is to get the car's voice assistant, it's a push and release, and to get the Android Auto Assistant, like your Google Assistant or your Siri, it's a press and hold. Okay, I am just going to go back here and to get out of the system. All right, so before I close, the other thing I'll just mention is that the climate control is all down below. And you notice there wasn't any climate stuff in the screen. That's because all of the buttons are here. Now, it is a single zone, but it is auto climate. Okay, you got your auto button here. You set your temperature right here. And you got off, you got front, you got rear defrosters here, airflow direction. Okay, you got heat, equal heat or cool if you want to be a little more fuel efficient. And then you've got recirculatory right here. Then over here, you can turn the AC on or off. This, of course, is your fan speed. All right, so last thing I want to talk about then is the backup camera. So I'm just going to put my foot on the brake, put it in reverse. Okay, you're going to hear that noise. That car's producing that, so it's just a warning that it's backing up because it's pretty much on battery power only. since you're not going fast, but this is it. You do get guidelines right here. They're not dynamic. They don't swivel, and there's nothing you can do to change your view. But what I like is that it uses the entire screen, and it's a fairly good picture. We got the sun coming right at the camera right now, so it's not a great picture, but typically that would be a pretty crystal clear picture. Right, so a really nice backup camera. None of the Corolla Crosses come with a 360 camera system. So what you get is just the rear view backup camera. Down below, you do have some drive modes. You have Sport, Normal, and Eco. Okay, so you can switch between those. And you do have an electronic parking brake just to the left of the shifts, the gear shift. And then you have a button that's called Hold. And if you put that on, okay, what's going to happen is if that's activated and you're buckled and you're driving, let's say you come to a stop, a traffic light. Well, once you're stopped, you can take your foot off the brake and it will remain stopped until you tap the accelerator or tap the brake again. Okay, so it automatically holds you so you can rest your foot for a little bit. All right. That is it then for the driver screen and the infotainment screen on the all-new redesigned 2026 Toyota Corolla Cross. And again, this is the hybrid and SE trim level. Hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.